That was the case for this macrame. I knew I had this spot on my wall where I wanted a macrame, and I knew I wanted something that was very organic and had lots of feathers, and so this is what I came up with. When I decided to make this larger wall hanging, I thought I'd record it and share with you what my design and creation process is when making a unique design. So this is the start of a very large project. The dowel is 30 inches wide. I'm trying to mimic this little guy, so I have him behind me because I want to do another one like this, but giant. So that is what it's looking like so far. So this is what the start of a project for me looks like. My macrame designs are an evolution of ideas and things I've tried, as well as inspiration I get from pieces I see on Pinterest and Instagram. At the end of this video, I'm going to share with you how my design style has evolved over the 2.5 years of me doing macrame. I'll also go over some of the things to think about when you start designing your own pieces. And these are the kind of things that happen when you're creating. Is I want these knots to be really nice and even. So I've been shifting these cords over, like I'm going to shift this one over. So it's like, yeah, you can plan to a certain extent, but all these are going to get shifted over, and then I'll just add a few more cords. And then I'll have the start of my wall hanging. So try not to be too, you need to be flexible. That's what I find. You have to be flexible with your design. Things rarely go as planned, and the key for me is to just go with the flow, and if I need to change my design from what I initially thought, as I'm creating, I just go with it. And then sometimes I end up making something I like even more than I thought I would, and sometimes it doesn't work out at all, and I end up just taking it apart. But all of these pieces of the process are how you develop your own style and how you end up making pieces you truly love in the end. I'm doing this vertical clove hitch knot, kind of alternating. The beauty of this knot is you can just pull your cord from your roll. You don't have to cut it. I don't think I actually explained that very well. So what I mean is you have your roll of cord and you can just pull the end of the cord up and start your vertical clove hitches. And then when you're done, you can cut the cord, and this will stop you from making so much waste. The reality is though, I may want to know how much cord I'm using in case I want to remake this piece, or if I decide I want to sell this so that I can price it. So I have marked the 1 meter point on my continuous cord, and I'm going to see how many cords I make from that. So right now I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 over. So I'm going to see how far I get with 1 meter. Here's my 1 meter mark. We started 7 over, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's see how many we did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.5. So that's great information. So 9.5 knots is 1 meter of cord. So now I come over to my page. This is the notes I'm making on making this particular piece. I've noted how wide my dowel is. I've noted the cord I'm using, 6mm Ganxxet cord, and then how long my lengths are that I attached to the dowel, so 250 centimeter lengths. Now I'm going to mark down that it's 9.5 knots for 1 meter of cord. This is how I like to take notes on my projects, so if I want to make them again, I can do that. Calculating your cord lengths when doing macrame is one of the most frequently asked questions, and so that's why I really suggest making notes as you create, and you'll start to get an idea of your cord lengths. And if you want some help in actually calculating cord lengths when you're coming up with design, I made a video about that and I'll link it in the description below. I've gotten those 3 rows of vertical half hitches done. And if you look at this piece that I'm copying or making a larger version of, next I do this row of double half hitches. So now I just take this cord that's attached to my roll and I cut it off with enough length so I can tuck it away later. And I'm going to tidy up all these loose ends at the end because it's just more efficient that way. This is what I've done with the piece so far. And again, I've been figuring out as I've been going along, just stopping it here at 3 rows would not be enough. So I added 2 more rows, so 2 more than the little piece. And then I did 3 rows of double half hitches because I thought I needed a bigger border before I started doing my feathers. I counted and I have 58 cords here, which means I attached 29 to the dowel. I've decided I'm going to do 6 feathers, and there's going to be 10 hanging cords in the center of each feather. Crossing my fingers, it looks good. I haven't started making my feathers yet, and I'm really happy because I realized I've made a mistake. I don't want an even number of feathers. I want an odd number of feathers so that there's the one longest feather in the middle and then equal amounts on either side of that. So I'm going to go back and recalculate. Okay, so each feather is going to take 8 cords, except the last 2 on the outsides will each take 9, and that'll give me 7 feathers. So I need to count in 25 cords before I start my first feather in the middle. That's 10, another 10, and 5. So I'm starting with these 8 cords. So I've decided to try a different method for making my feathers. I've seen this square knot method used before. So I'm attaching a long piece of cord, and then I do square knots where I pull the sides out a lot and push it up. This is a great way to show texture when you're doing a wall hanging. This is a method that I would use to create texture, but in this case, I'm using it to make feathers. So I'm going to test it out. I'm not sure that that's going to be feathery enough in the end. I feel like it's less feather than you would normally have, but let me try one more and then I'm going to do a little test. And it's good to do little tests so that you don't do the whole piece and then realize you don't like it. I don't want to commit to something. I might go to my other method, which is slower, but I know what I'm going to get in the end. And I also am finding this a bit finicky. Don't love the method so far. And what I realized too I've been doing is I'm doing more of a spiral knot because these are all on the same side. I haven't been alternating. So I'm going to take it apart and try again. The joys of creating. So I'll leave the first one. I forgot to alternate which side I started for my square knot. And I do want to have an alternating look. So this time I'll start from the right. And now go from the left. And I'll do one more, and then I'm going to cut the ends and see how I like the way the feather looks. And if I like it, I'll keep going, and if I don't, I will not. And now I'll just comb them out and see what I think. I actually think I am gonna like it. I'm glad I gave it a try. I'm gonna make my whole first feather. Yep, I'm gonna do it. I like it. Here's how the wall hanging looks so far and my feathers. I'm really happy with how the feathers are turning out, and I think I'm just going to keep going with it. They're going to look very different once they're all filled in and trimmed and combed out. So yeah, I'll just keep going. So here's my feather reveal. I've made all the feathers, but I still have to comb them out and trim them, and that part takes a little while. Feathers seem like they're something quick, but unless you're just making one feather, they're actually quite time consuming. I'm combing out each feather one by one, and I use a mixture of a comb and a brush. I just find that's the quickest and most efficient way to do it. And now I'm doing another feather, and this one I've already done the one that's in the same place on the mirrored side. So I like to flip it down and then compare and make sure the feathers are the same length. And then I go ahead and I go in and I cut the feather. With feathers, I find you have to comb and cut and then recomb and cut, and it takes a little while to get it how you want it to actually be. And then every time I flip down the other feathers, I find often I do a little trimming and recombing with them as well. Here you have a little visual of me doing two feathers that are the mirrored spots of each other and how I just go back and forth from one to the other to get them just right. And I'm not going for a perfect look here. I like my pieces to look a little bit more organic, so I don't spray my feathers. I just let them hang naturally. And I think I've done all the trimming that I need to do. Just giving them another comb to see if I'm going to like how it looks when it's finally hanging on a wall. So if you're new to macrame and you just watch this video because you're curious, it's great to start out by just learning how to macrame from tutorials. That's how I learned, and now I teach that myself. But here's a few things to think about if you're ready to start designing your own pieces. The first thing to think about is, why are you actually making this piece? I'm often making a piece for a tutorial. Sometimes I'm making a piece just for myself. And sometimes I'm making a piece for someone else as a gift, and every once in a while to sell, but I'm not really into selling macrame. I like to do it more for just the joy of making it. I like more organic looking macrame with feathers and just more bigger chunks of the same pattern. And I like really neutral colors. I do most of my macrame just in the natural macrame cord, and that's my favorite. I've tried doing it with other colors and I realize I just don't like the piece as much. So just do what you like, because in the end, you want to like the piece. So if I'm making it for me, I want to know how wide I need it, how long I need it, and what kind of style I want it to be depending on where it is in my home. And that was the case for this macrame. I knew I had this spot on my wall where I wanted a macrame, and I knew I wanted something that was very organic and had lots of feathers, and so this is what I came up with. Recognize that your style is going to develop over time. You're going to make a piece and maybe just like a certain part of it, and then you'll incorporate that into your next piece. It takes time, and just enjoy the process. And your design taste is going to change over time. What you like now might be completely different than what you like in 2 years from now. So the piece I made today evolved first from this piece that I made a tutorial on how to use macrame scraps. So I made that kind of shaggy look using scraps. And I also wanted to make some feathers, and I had seen this layered look of feathers in other people's pieces, and I wanted to figure out how to do that. After that piece was done, I was like, I really like those feathers. I want to do the top section more in double half hitches and vertical double half hitches, and then put the feathers on the bottom. So I made this next piece, and I absolutely loved it. So once that piece was done, I was like, okay, that spot on my wall in my living room that I've been waiting to make a piece for, I want to make this little piece, but in a large version. And so now I'm done it, and I love it. But it took me time to come to that process of making this large piece. It didn't just come to me out of nowhere. It evolved from different pieces I've seen, and then trying and experimenting myself. And then alas, here it is. With this piece, even having a smaller version that I was replicating, the process of this bigger piece had some evolution, and I had to make some changes along the way and figuring out how many feathers across the bottom and this and that. So even when you really have a clear, precise idea of what you want to do, it's likely going to be adapted a bit as you go. Not ready to design your own piece? Well, here's a playlist you can look into with a bunch of tutorials I've already made, and maybe there's something in there that interests you.